The BRICS nations have just announced a seismic move, a 100% tariff on all U.S. imports. This isn't just another trade spat, it's a direct response to what BRICS calls aggressive U.S. trade policies. After months of rising tensions, this marks the most unified challenge to American economic dominance in decades. The emergency BRICS summit made it clear, these tariffs are about defending economic sovereignty and pushing back against U.S. protectionism. The goal? Make American goods prohibitively expensive, disrupt U.S. exports, and force Washington to rethink its approach. Global markets are rattled, and experts warn this could reshape supply chains and alliances worldwide. This isn't a targeted dispute, it's a full-scale economic confrontation, showing BRICS' new level of strategic coordination. The world is watching to see if this bold move will permanently shift the balance of global power. To grasp the stakes in today's shifting global landscape, you first need to understand what BRICS actually is and why it matters now more than ever. Originally, BRICS referred to Brazil, Russia, India, and China, four emerging economic giants grouped together by economists in 2001 as the future powerhouses of the world. South Africa joined the alliance in 2010, expanding the group's reach to the African continent and making it even more influential. In recent years, the bloc has grown even further, now including Saudi Arabia, Iran, Egypt, Ethiopia, the UAE, and Indonesia, nations with vast resources and strategic importance. Today, BRICS represents nearly half the world's population, with billions of people living in its member countries. Collectively, these nations account for almost 40% of global GDP, making them a formidable force in the world economy. BRICS is no longer just a discussion forum for emerging economies. It has established its own new development bank, and is actively working to build a parallel economic system that rivals Western institutions. The bloc's mission is clear: challenge the US-led world order and offer an alternative to Western dominance. BRICS pushes for a multipolar system, where no single country or alliance dominates global affairs, aiming for a more balanced world. The group's strength lies in its diversity: energy producers, manufacturing powerhouses, agricultural giants, and massive consumer markets all working together. By acting in unison, BRICS countries can influence global prices, shape supply chains, and even direct the flow of technology and innovation. Their latest move, imposing new tariffs, is their boldest step yet, signaling a willingness to confront established powers head-on. With these actions, BRICS is making it clear they're ready to use their collective power to reshape the global economy and redefine the rules of international trade. The BRICS tariff wasn't sudden or unexpected. It was the culmination of months of mounting tension and strategic maneuvering on the world stage. Rather than an isolated event, it's a direct reaction to escalating US threats and a series of aggressive policy shifts. The crisis began in early 2025 when President Trump returned to office and threatened to impose 100% tariffs if BRICS countries move forward with their plans for de-dollarization, sending shockwaves through global markets. For BRICS, this was about more than just trade policy. It was a fight for financial independence, a chance to break free from the dominance of the US dollar and assert their own economic power. Tensions peaked at the July BRICS summit, where leaders stood united and publicly condemned the rising tide of unilateral tariffs, calling for a new era of fairer global trade. In response, Trump doubled down, signing new tariff orders and setting a looming deadline, pushing both sides ever closer to a full-scale economic conflict that threatened to engulf global supply chains. Each move triggered a stronger counter-move, creating a dangerous spiral of retaliation and uncertainty, with neither side willing to back down. The US framed its actions as necessary steps to protect American interests, jobs, and the dollar's global dominance, rallying domestic support for tough measures. BRICS, on the other hand, saw these moves as blatant economic coercion and a direct attack on their sovereignty, fueling a sense of urgency and unity among member nations. With diplomatic efforts collapsing and new US tariffs imminent, BRICS leaders felt they had no choice but to act decisively and strike first to defend their interests. Their 100% tariff is a bold, preemptive countermeasure, a clear signal to the world that they will not be intimidated or forced into submission. The stage is now set for a full-blown trade war, with global consequences hanging in the balance and the world watching anxiously to see what happens next. Leaders on both sides are defending their positions with starkly different narratives. President Trump on social media frames the conflict as America versus a hostile world, insisting tariffs are needed to protect U.S. strength and the dollar. BRICS leaders, meanwhile, say their move is defensive, a stand for a more balanced, inclusive global system. Brazil's President Lula declares, "The world has changed, we don't want an emperor." China and Russia stress that trade wars have no winners, positioning themselves as defenders of free trade. South Africa and others try to keep dialogue open, emphasizing they're not anti-American but want fairness. The bloc's unity masks internal differences. Some members are more reluctant to sever U.S. ties. Still, BRICS presents a united front, insisting their goal is a multipolar world, not confrontation for its own sake. The rhetoric on both sides is hardening, making compromise increasingly difficult. The BRICS tariffs are a gut punch to the U.S. economy, striking at the heart of American prosperity and global influence. American exporters, especially in agriculture, tech, and manufacturing, will see demand in key markets evaporate overnight. Crops may go unsold, factories could idle, and high-tech products might pile up in warehouses, unable to reach their usual buyers abroad. Factory closures, job losses, and production cuts could ripple across the country, hitting both small towns and major cities. The shockwaves will be felt in local economies, with layoffs leading to reduced spending and further business closures. U.S. multinationals with supply chains in BRICS nations face chaos. Higher costs, disrupted operations, and tough choices about relocating or abandoning markets. Companies may scramble to find new suppliers, but shifting global supply chains is costly and time-consuming. The trade war could also accelerate the decline of the dollar's dominance, as BRICS boosts trade in local currencies and builds alternative payment systems. This threatens the U.S. position at the center of global finance. This shift could raise borrowing costs for the U.S. government and businesses, weakening American financial power. Investors may demand higher returns, making it more expensive to fund everything from infrastructure to innovation. American consumers won't escape unscathed. Everyday life will become more expensive, and uncertainty will weigh on household confidence. Disrupted supply chains and possible U.S. retaliation mean higher prices for everyday goods, from electronics to clothing. Shortages could become common, and some products may disappear from shelves altogether. Inflation will squeeze household budgets and could tip the economy toward recession. Families may have to make tough choices, cutting back on essentials and delaying major purchases. The tariffs, meant to protect American jobs, may end up destroying them. The pain will be felt across industries, from manufacturing to retail. The U.S. faces a stark choice: escalate, negotiate, or adapt to a new global reality. Policymakers must weigh the risks of further confrontation against the need for compromise and innovation. The fallout will be felt far beyond Wall Street, reaching workers, families, and communities nationwide. The social fabric of America could be tested as people grapple with uncertainty and change. The era of easy global trade is over, and the United States must now navigate a world where economic power is more contested than ever before. The U.S.-BRICS standoff threatens to shatter the global trading system. The World Trade Organization is sidelined, as both sides bypass its rules. Massive, unilateral tariffs could inspire other countries to follow suit, fragmenting the world into rival economic blocs. Nations caught in the middle, especially in Asia, Africa, and Latin America, face tough choices about which side to support. The conflict is speeding up the creation of parallel economic systems, with BRICS building its own banks and payment networks. We could soon see two competing global economies, one led by the US and dollar, the other by BRICS and its own rules. For global businesses, this means higher costs, more regulations, and fractured supply chains. The dream of seamless global trade is fading, replaced by uncertainty and rising barriers. Decades of economic integration are at risk of unraveling. For ordinary people, the trade war means higher prices and fewer job opportunities. In the US, consumers will pay more for everyday goods, while workers in export industries face layoffs and uncertainty. The promise of protecting American jobs may backfire, causing economic pain in heartland communities. In BRICS countries, businesses relying on US components will struggle, risking job losses and slower growth. Both sides will feel the squeeze as supply chains break down and costs rise. The real losers in this conflict aren't governments, they're the workers, families, and consumers caught in the crossfire. As leaders dig in, it's ordinary people who will pay the highest price.